Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Greg Plays Games. Today I have another tier making video. I've done one of these before. The first one was with Mario games on the Nintendo Switch. Today it is every console that I've played. I have not played a lot of these consoles that you're seeing right here in this list. I'm not going to count any of the consoles that I have not played. But I feel like it would only be right to start off with the Game Boy Color. And I'm going to rank these not really as to what they would be in the grand scheme of things, but just what they were based off of my experience. And my Game Boy, I'm putting it in the C tier, mainly because I didn't play it a ton. There was really only Pokemon on it, and I played that, and I was so little that I didn't really spend a lot of time with it. But that was the first gaming console that I ever got. The next one was not too far after the Nintendo 64, if I can find it on this list. Nintendo 64... I think I'm going to bump that up to a B. I really kind of just remember playing a lot of Super Mario 64 and Smash Bros. On that console, and that's pretty much it. Both solid games, and I remember playing those very fondly. Then after that, it was the Game Boy Advance. I'm going to rank it slightly higher than a Nintendo 64. That was one of the first consoles that I really remember spending a lot of time with. I played a lot of Sonic. I can't remember the specific Sonic game on there, but of course Pokemon Leaf Green. I have very vivid memories of playing that game as well. Really enjoyed that console. And then I'm trying to think. I believe I may have had the Nintendo Game Boy SP, but I'm not seeing it on this list. It would be in the same exact category anyways, because it's it's right there with it. But next, it was the Nintendo GameCube. That's got to go in A tier. There are so many fun games on that I remember playing, like Smash Brothers Melee, Mario Sunshine, Wind Waker. Simpsons Hit and Run was like my favorite game as a kid because I could not play Grand Theft Auto, and Simpsons Hit and Run on GameCube was huge. And then I believe the console that I had after GameCube was the PSP. This video is actually kind of stems from a conversation I had with my friend John, who is a regular viewer. Shout out to you, John. This video is all because of you. I believe we're talking about PSPs at one point, and just really took me down memory lane. I love the PSP, one of my favorite consoles of all time. I'm going to actually put that above the Nintendo GameCube because there were... the PSP had a second life later in high school, if you know what I mean. So PSP, SSX Tricky, the Tony Hawk games are on there. Tony Hawk Underground, great Tony Hawk games. The Madden games on the PSP are so much fun. That era of Madden was just absolutely goated, like 03 to 07 or so. Just amazing games. So much fun. NCAA football was not on there, but it was on the next console, the PlayStation 2, which, pardon me, that also... PlayStation 2 might have to go into S tier. Grand Theft Auto, Madden, Rock Band. There were so many fun multiplayer games that I played on PlayStation 2. Bully. PlayStation 2 was, I always, as a kid, people would always say Nintendo was for kids, so PlayStation 2 was the mature console to have, and PlayStation 2, one of the greatest consoles of all time. So many awesome games on there. Of course, you have your NCAA, Madden, just golden era for those games. Then after PlayStation 2, I feel like I might be forgetting a handheld system in here somewhere. But my console after the PlayStation 2 was the Xbox 360. That's also S tier. I think I gotta put it above PlayStation 2 because I feel like this was the console that I spent the most time with. I had bought a video game for Xbox 360 before I even owned an Xbox 360. That game was Skate, made by EA. I was just so excited about that game. I bought it before me and my brother even could get the Xbox 360. But I just remember being so jealous of all my friends that had a 360, and we were stuck with my PlayStation 2, which I mean, little kid problems, you know what I mean? The Xbox 360, some of my favorite games that come to mind are Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. That was probably one of the most played games. Skate 1 through 3, all 3 of those games I played a ton. Grand Theft Auto 4 is my favorite Grand Theft Auto game. Red Dead Redemption, one of my favorite video games ever made. And then Grand Theft Auto 5, also released on Xbox 360. Let's move on though, because after the 360, I actually got a Nintendo 3DS. I'm gonna put this in C tier along with my, actually, I'll put it in B tier, I'll put it above the Nintendo 64 because my Nintendo 3DS was essentially a machine just for playing Animal Crossing New Horizon in college. I was super late to the 3DS party, so I really wanted to play Animal Crossing and I couldn't find my DS, so I was like, well, I'm sure I can find a 3DS for pretty cheap, and I could. I got a Cosmic Purple Nintendo 3DS for I think $75, and then I got Ocarina of Time, Animal Crossing New Horizon, and then I pretty exclusively played Animal Crossing on that console. It was so much fun. I really did enjoy the 3D technology, but it was not the best. I totally forgot to mention my DS, which I will put right up there with the 3DS, a little bit above because it was also basically just an Animal Crossing machine, and I had that when I was a little younger, and so the nostalgia for it just hits a little harder than the 3DS. And you could also play Game Boy games on the DS, so I'm glad I caught that because I almost forgot about the DS. Let's see, where's the last one? Xbox 360, 3DS, and then after the 3DS, that was kind of my reintroduction back into video games and kind of loving video games because during high school I kind of stopped playing video games just because I was too busy with working, with school. And then in college, when you first start college, you have a lot of downtime. So I brought my Xbox 360 with me, and then I wanted something new to play because I was just kind of stuck playing old Xbox 360 games. So I got the 3DS, and that brought me back into the world of Nintendo. And at the time, the console that was out was the Wii U. I gotta put the Wii U in C tier, mainly just because it was such a heartache to own one. There were a ton of really fun games, but you're just always desperate for news, and there weren't enough games to make owning it fun. You were just always waiting for that next game, and it just never came, which, that actually reminds me, I totally forgot about the Wii as well. I'm gonna put the Wii right above the Nintendo 64. I might bump it above the. I'll put it above the 3DS because there were a lot of fun party games on the Wii that I would play with friends, like Mario Party 8. That was one of my favorites. Red Steel, which is a super underrated game. I don't even know if it's underrated, but that was just one of my favorite games on the Wii. Madden on the Wii was interesting. Slugfest, I think. There was a baseball game on the Wii that was also a lot of fun. So there were some really awesome games on the Wii. Those were just some of the ones that came to mind. I actually did not play Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii initially. It took me a while longer to play Galaxy. I actually ended up playing Galaxy on my Wii U. So forgive me for kind of jumping all over the place there, just a few consoles that slipped my mind. And as I'm going through this list, I'm realizing how many video game consoles I've really owned. After the Wii U, though, the next console I purchased was the PlayStation 4, and this I got super late into the PlayStation 4's life cycle. I'm putting this in S tier. I'm going to put it above Xbox 360 because PlayStation 4 was my main console during college. There were so many amazing video games that came out for that. The next-gen 2Ks were starting to get really fun right before they kind of started to implement their microtransactions. So like 2K14 was on PlayStation 4, and I loved that game. 2K16, which had Steph Curry on the cover, one of my favorite 2K games. Objectively, I think 2K14 was the most fun. But then you had other games like Red Dead Redemption 2 that came out a lot later in the life cycle of the PlayStation 4, God of War. Of course, I play a lot of sports video games too, so there was a lot of Madden on PlayStation 4. PlayStation and Xbox games were kind of my secondary console to Nintendo, where I would play a lot of my preferred Nintendo single-player games. And then, of course, after the PlayStation 4, was the Nintendo Switch. We gotta put Switch in the S tier. Probably my favorite console of all time right now, mainly because of how many amazing single or first party Nintendo games there are. Breath of the Wild, of course, being the major game that came out along with the Nintendo Switch, originally intended to be released on the Wii U. So Mario Kart was there at the beginning too. I had a Wii U, so I was a little bit slower to get the Nintendo Switch, but and they were also kind of hard to find, but I found one in a store and I just said, screw it, I want to play Breath of the Wild on the newer console, and I pulled the trigger on it. I was ready to move on from the Wii U, just because it was such a letdown, really. But let's see, now we're getting into my more recent consoles, so they should be a little harder to rank. So I'll probably be a little more deliberate with these. So my next console is Xbox Series S. I have to say, I gotta put this one in A tier. It doesn't quite have that nostalgia yet, so I'm not gonna bump it up over the PlayStation and the GameCube. But just the value that Game Pass provides, it makes buying an Xbox Series S so worth it if you're a casual gamer and let's say you have a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. If you really want to kind of have that next gen upgrade, I think the Xbox Series S is a great kind of mid-tier option because it doesn't hit some of those same specs as the Xbox Series X or the PS5, but it's so much cheaper at only $300. And then if you get Game Pass along with that, you don't even really need to buy another video game if you don't want to. You just have to pay that reoccurring subscription to it. But it's such a phenomenal deal. If that were your only console, I would not blame you. I think it's such an amazing value at the price point and along with Game Pass. My next console is the PlayStation 5. I do want to specify this is recorded as of September 21st, 2022. The PlayStation 5 has been out for a handful of years, but it's really, honestly, there aren't enough games on this console for me to give it higher than a C, because you can essentially play on PlayStation 4. So there's not much incentive to upgrade to that PlayStation 5 yet. There's really kind of a lot left to be desired with the PlayStation 5. I've been pretty unimpressed with it so far as what it has available, just because I have my Xbox Series S, so there's no need for me to buy Madden for my PlayStation 5 when I can get it through Game Pass for free. So it's really going to be kind of like a PlayStation exclusive console for me. So I've been playing Spider-Man on there, Spider-Man Miles Morales, I should say, which I had already played on PlayStation 4. So there are some really amazing games available on PlayStation 5, but they were brought over from the PlayStation 4, and there's just not enough reason in my mind to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 if you own a PlayStation 4. Or, I mean, if you own one of the PlayStation 4 newer iterations, like the PlayStation 4 Pro or Plus, whatever the name is, there is not really a reason to upgrade to that PlayStation 5 yet. There aren't any console exclusives worth buying it for. I think it's really Returnal and Ratchet and Clank, which at $70 price points, just not worth that upgrade yet. I think the PlayStation 5, they're going to become more readily available as time progresses. There's going to be more games available, and I think it will be a great console. There's just nothing out on it yet that's making this a must-buy console for me. Any reason to upgrade, but it has an amazing back catalog of games, and if you've never had a PlayStation 4, there's so much content for you to go through and enjoy. And so if I had not owned a PlayStation 4, this would be so much higher, because some of my favorite games of all time, like Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, they're available on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. So there's some great games there, just nothing specific to the PlayStation 4 yet. I believe that's really it as far as consoles that I've owned. I'm trying to think or see if there's anything. I kind of jump around between generations, and you can see I really have no real loyalty towards any specific brand or company other than Nintendo. I love Nintendo games. I think they make the best games in the industry. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you probably would agree. I would love to hear what some of your favorite consoles are. I think Nintendo Switch is genuinely my favorite console of all time. There are just so many classic games on it already. Must-play video games like Breath of the Wild, Animal Crossing, Mario Odyssey. These are three of my favorite games of all time, just on the Nintendo Switch. So, such an amazing console. If you're checking out Greg Plays Games, you know we're a fan here. So leave me a comment what your favorite console is. I would love to hear it. And that is this week's video. I appreciate you guys checking it out, and I will see you in the next one.